Welcome to Newark Arts Festival 2020. We are in day 2 and there are hundreds of events, hundreds of happenings, mostly virtual, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have a terrific festival this year as we've had for 19 years prior. So welcome aboard. My name is Jeremy Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of Newark Arts, and we produce this great festival this year, which is led by our president, Marcy DePina, and a wonderful team, including Lauren LeBeau-Craig, as well as Tricia Lachlan-Bloom, who are our curators for the exhibit, which we are doing in partnership with the Great Newark Museum of Art. So I'm just going to get us started with really a bunch of thank yous. Thank yous to all of you for participating and visiting www.newarkartsfestival.com, and a thank you to the people that are powering this festival. And I'm going to get to them in a second, but there's a whole list. But our platinum sponsors are Prudential and Verizon, as well as a number of other supporters. And indulge me for 1 second while I say their names out loud: Bank of America, Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation, Goldman Sachs, Hanini Group, M&T Bank, McCarter and English, National Endowment for the Arts, New Jersey State Council on the Arts, the Newark Museum of Art, the City of Newark, PNC Bank, PSEG Turl Fund, United Philanthropy Forums, Momentum Foundation, and Victoria Foundation. And we are especially happy today to have Verizon with us, represented by Braxton Plummer. This is their first time sponsoring this festival, and we think it's a great match because the theme of the festival is art and tech. And we started this process back in January, and how great it is to have Braxton here. He is the he's the Director of State and Local Government Affairs for Verizon. And we all want you to get out your Verizon funds and connect to NewarkArtsFestival.com. And Braxton has a few words for us, so take it away, Braxton.
Thanks, Jeremy. Always a pleasure. It's always interesting because I was introduced to Jeremy by so many mutual friends that I knew I had to make him a priority because indirectly he was family. And I also appreciate a lot of the work that you do in the community. I think the first time me and you sat down, it was with some famous people. I think Whoopi Goldberg, who loved you, and so did Governor Murphy, and so did his wife. And I think there's a relationship there that I'm going to continue to cultivate because I sit on the drum thwacker board. But I think one of the best things about your organization that stimulated me the most is that I'm a big fan of visual arts. Also, I'm a music fan, so if you see my sweatshirts, Reasonable Doubt, it was written on some of the major albums that are part of my life. And especially lately, with a lot of the things that are happening in our space with civic engagement, a lot of the things, I mean, in the civil rights era, that's what brought people together, was visual arts, photography.
That's right.
And also with Gordon Parks, who's one of my favorites. And I think, obviously, Jeremy, I think you need to introduce me. I think I'm going to start getting into purchasing more art, so I'm sure somebody will be interested in seeing me soon. But I think there's a significant role that you guys play, and that now that the concept of digital divide has been brought up, even though it's been always kind of hidden in the mix of the systemic issues that we have, I think it's something, makes our partnership that much more key in this time. There's going to be a major announcement on Tuesday with the 5G iPhone. So you guys be on the lookout for that. We're doing a lot of work in the city of Newark. Hopefully we'll be able to get moving on that soon. I'd like to thank you, Jeremy, for your partnership and assisting us. Also, Jennifer Cole from the city of Newark, she's on the line. But once again, thank you guys so much. And I actually look forward to making this a regular partnership. So definitely, obviously, I know Jeremy will follow up with me on that commitment. But I certainly would appreciate just doing this for the long run. And you guys are doing a lot of great work. And whatever I can do to help, I'll continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the introduction to the governor and the first lady, and Ms. Goldberg, Whoopi Goldberg, who's a fan of Arts Festival as well. Take it away,
Excellent.
Marcy. Thank you, Braxton.
Fantastic. Well, talk about power. I mean, that's a lot of power right there, bringing together government, corporations, artists, arts administrators, all in one room to empower the arts, to empower our artists, and really to push it forward. I mean, we are living in crazy, crazy times. As you all know, I don't need to go into it. And this festival really was a real labor of love. I mean, Newark Arts, we really wanted to be able to continue forward with our festival, even in light of COVID-19 and the pandemic. It was very important for us to continue to empower our artists and to really continue keeping Newark on the map as a city of the arts. So that's what it's all about. So please, everyone, welcome to our panel discussion, Power, Art, and Tech. As you know, Newark Arts Festival 2020, our theme this year is Art and Tech. And I am so fortunate not only to be part of the production team for this particular festival, but also to be able to moderate and present this panel on power, because of the three words that we had as keywords: perception, power, and access. I got to tell you, power was my favorite one. So when it was decided that I would be moderating the panel that was focused on power, I was so excited. So thank you all for joining us. We're really happy to have you, and we're looking forward to an exciting discussion with three of our featured gallery artists that are featured in our virtual gallery. If you haven't checked it out yet, you are slipping. You need to check it out at newarkartsfestival.com, the virtual gallery there. You will see all of the wonderful art that has been curated for this festival. It was a limited open call. We had a lot of submissions, but we could only choose 20 artists. And of those 20, 3 of which are represented in today's panel. So I'm just going to briefly introduce our 3 fabulous panelists that have joined us. So first, we have joining us, I mean, talk about art and tech. This conversation and power wouldn't even be possible for our very first panelist, Clara Aden, that is coming to us all the way from Lagos, from Nigeria. So can you imagine trying to do this without power and technology? Clara Aden is a passionate painter known for her mind-blowing pencils and drawings. Born Elizabeth Omolara Adenugba, she has been illustrating professionally since 1999 and eventually earned her spot as assistant production manager, Hearts Magazine in 2000. She studied painting and decorating at Federal Science Technology College in Yaba, and Aden has exhibited in US, Norway, Germany, and Hungary. So really taking her art all around the world. And her drawings have been celebrated internationally at Global Images of US Women, in Pennsylvania in 2015, and recently at the AMREF Art Ball in 2019, a premier African art auction and philanthropic event. She's been awarded the Gane Odotoken Award of Excellence in 2016 by African Art Resource Center, and the winner of the Global Network Research Development, the GNRD Freedom of Expression in 2015 art competition in Norway. Second place winner in Buddy Bear Design in 2016, and the 2016 art contest by the German Embassy in Abuja. So Aden is a beneficiary of the 2018 International Artist Residency Award, and she has been doing her art and receiving her accolades all along the way. We're really pleased to have her join us today. She's most recently participated in the Project Space Lagos project, and of course is featured in our 2020 virtual gallery. Please welcome everybody, Clara Aden. Thank you, Clara. And our next presenter, who I happen to call a dear friend of mine, she is joining us right here locally. She is none other than Kween Moore. She's a curator, she's an interdisciplinary artist, poet, and art educator. Kween Moore leads a life dedicated to the arts and its communal impact. As a cooperative arts and humanities Magna High graduate, with a BA in Art Therapy Psychology from Albertus Magnus College, Moore serves Newark and the surrounding communities through creative arts programming, poetry, performance art, and visual arts, and specific content for all creatives. Through workshops and creative sessions, excuse me, that almost went someplace entirely different. Moore produces content that challenges events and topics considered to be controversial or too difficult to discuss. She is the owner and lead curator for Femme Curators, which is exhibiting as part of our festival as well in her microsite. And this is a curatorial collective of dynamic art educators and enthusiasts that have produced art exhibits for many galleries. And she has so many accolades and wins that it's hard to even know where to start. But really, Kween has been on the scene as a compassionate and passionate member of the arts community, really helping to heal the community through our art. She's a fabulous freestyler, and you could check her out tonight. She'll also be a part of our pop-up projection. And she really focuses all of her work on urban culture, art history, and the African diaspora, highlighting how to connect people through the arts worldwide. So please, everybody, welcome Kween Moore. And last but certainly not least, our third panelist is Layqa Nuna Yawar. He is a public artist and multidisciplinary storyteller living and working in Newark, New Jersey. He makes paintings, installations, workshops, and socially engaged public art projects centering the voices and narratives of people of color in pursuit of social justice and shared liberation. His artwork aims to disrupt established semiotic systems and reimagine them in service of a better and brighter future. Layqa's process is informed by his experience growing up in Ecuador and migrating to the US as a teenager. His work exists at the intersection between migrant alienation and belonging, between cross-cultural identity and decolonization, and between the private and the public. His work was awarded in the 2019 Moving Walls Fellowship by Open Society Foundations, as well as multiple teaching residencies, including projects with the United Nations World Food Program. He has exhibited at El Museo del Barrio, the Newark Museum, and the Zimmerli Art Museum, amongst others. And you can check out his incredible work that's featured across La Tierra. And I forgot to mention that, thank you for joining us. I forgot to mention the names of the three exhibits. Kween Moore's exhibit is called Current, and Clara Aden's exhibit is called Technological Glitch. So how appropriate for meeting our theme. So welcome, thank you for joining us today. We are so excited to have you here. This conversation obviously would not be possible without power. And when I say power, I don't mean just power in having all of the strength or all of the sort of resources on your side, but literally power in the sense of electricity. So power as a word has multiple meanings, and art is also something that is expressed and can be expressed in multiple ways. And even as you're looking at art, it's a subjective experience. Everybody sees art in a different way. And I think that's part of what makes it so fabulous. So I wanted to talk just really quickly about the very literal sense of power in the sense of electricity and technology. And I'm gonna propose a question, and I'd like each of you to weigh in on your thoughts on it. So the first question is, how has technology impacted your process as an artist? And I think we'll start with Clara, who's joining us all the way from Lagos.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marcy. I also want to use this opportunity to thank all the team and all the sponsors, the people that put up this program together. Kudos to everyone. And I really want to appreciate the fact that because of technology, we're able to make this happen. So like the question you posed, as in how has technology helped my art practice? For me, it's not really easy for me to really be a very social media person, because initially when technology in the form of using smartphone, using laptop, computer, the new revolution of technology, when it comes to you being able to access all these instruments, for you to be able to know how to use them, for you to be able to know how to really understand them. It took me a while, to really know how to understand all these processes. But one thing I find out is this. Somebody told me that if you want to be a global artist, you need to tap into the technological advancement that is going on presently, because bringing art and technology together, we need it. Technology needs us, and art also needs the technology. The only thing I just believe is now up to you as an artist to make good use, of these devices very effectively. In a situation whereby through the technology, I've been able to have a series of platforms to showcase my artwork, to put on my art portfolio online. In fact, recently, I won a second prize in 2020 Art Desk competition. They asked us to submit our portfolio. I never even expect that I'm going to be a winner. So that is the power of technology. So fine, the power of technology, it has no limit, like I said, but it is now up to you as an artist to know how you can use this power very effectively, and don't allow the power to go into your head. Use it effectively. And that is what I've been doing.
Wow, that is incredible. You're absolutely right. This play, this double entendre, this play on the word of power, you just discussed so much there, how the power of the technology has allowed you to promote yourself on a much wider scale, and also the process of having to learn how to integrate all of those things and find new ways to present yourself and to interact with the technology and interact with those that are consuming your art, but also too the very real power that I think comes from having your work on public display and having all the accolades and the adoration, and the ways in which that can impact you personally from a perspective of your ego, and the ways in which we then move forward as an artist in the world, as opposed to just you simply as yourself. So thank you for that. So Kween, I'd like for you to answer the same question.
Thank you, Marcy. Thank you for the opportunity of being here. Thank you, Lenny, who I affectionately love and adore. Thank you, Clara. Like, your work is absolutely stunning. And I think my understanding and theory of power is this, like a conglomerate of people that can come together, kind of like the Planeteers. We can all exist separately, but when we come together, I think the power that we exude as a group of creatives and as in a group of powerful mind thinkers and creatives, I think we have something greater to exhibit. And we all have external qualities and strengths that that give something to the community far more than just to look at. It's a life-changing movement to create what we do, where it comes from. I remember sitting down with the late and great Dr. Jerry Gant, and him always instilling in me that, you can't create this work and not feel bad about making other people respect your work. You can't possibly feel like you're doing something that is outside of yourself. What we create is bigger than us. How we understand it is bigger than us. How other people interpret it is bigger than us. And I think that has everything to do with power. I think the understanding of what we create and power kind of overlap, and then they integrate at some point or another. They connect. The work that we have is like birthing a child. You look at it, you stare at it, you walk around it. You don't want to sell it. You don't want to part with it. That has everything to do with power and connectivity and technology. Seeing our work on such a large scale, across the internet. Usually we're used to having Newark Arts Festival in Newark, but we're everywhere right now. We're reaching, like Clara's in Nigeria right now. Lenny is somewhere beautiful in the world. We're reaching people on a larger scale, and it is warming. Some people, like I heard Clara say, don't let it go to your head. And that's actual information. I was taking notes. That's exactly what we have right now. We have a power that is undying and that is like completely gift giving right now. So I'm grateful. Hopefully that answered the question, Marcy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're deepening the conversation and I think everything that you said is a perfect segue into talking to Layqa, because, you know, when you talk about art and the way people see it and how they see it, when you look at a lot of the work that you've done, Layqa, you know, you've done these large scale murals that are very public, that before I ever knew who you were, I can remember driving by the mural. I don't know the name of the mural, but it's a beautiful mural that's in Newark, and seeing that and being, just looking at it, being taken on a journey, that's very powerful. And that is, you know, something that I think that when you think about the way in which people access this work, when you look at that sort of large scale of things, you know, how does that feel, and like, how does that impact you in terms of being an artist and sharing your work? So unlike a piece where you create in your house and you might sell it, that's your baby, this work is you're automatically putting it out there for everybody to consume. So I guess for you, because the question has sort of changed, if you could just briefly touch on how technology has impacted your work, but also, because I know that it has, but if you could also just speak to that which both Clara and Kween have touched upon, which is the aspect of power and how power intersects and interrelates with your work.
Thank you. Hi, Marcy. Hi, everyone. It's beautiful to be sharing some time with you. Now we don't share space, and it's beautiful to share ideas with you all. So yeah, power is something I think has always been in my work, even if I didn't know about it, because like, as you said, me going out into the street and making illegal work when I was younger was an act of power, kind of like taking power back. Me working with communities to put their messages on giant walls is an act of like communal power grabbing or taking power back in the public realm. Technology, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So when we talk about technology, we're talking about access. Who can get the internet right now, right? Like, how many people in our community are not able to see this virtual reality project that I'm making because they're not able to access it? I'm not able to access that either. Like, technology can sometimes be restricted. So for me, having the privilege to be an artist and to be between these spaces, it's very interesting because on one end, I'm right now trying to work on like, you know, high-end technology, but at the same time, I come from making art with one brush and black paint. So you have like the very basic and like the super collected, the super advanced. And the line that kind of connects all of that, me and my work, and the most powerful aspect of it that I think I want to speak to is the fact that I couldn't do this alone. That when I'm working outside in a mural, it is more important and it's more powerful if I do it with people. When I'm making this like VR project, I don't know anything about this technology. I had to collaborate with others, and that's where the power comes from sort of detaching the dollar value from these technologies, from taking that power away and opening that up to other communities, and also like finding collaboration and like the wonderful sort of like gift that is. So yeah, power all around.
Beautiful. I love this concept of power being intertwined as both the creator and the collaboration that takes place. I think if COVID-19 has taught us anything, it really is that we are all connected. You know, just how quickly and easily it has spread, whether you understood from an energetic perspective how connected we really were or not, you can understand it in a very real sense now. And I think that now more than ever, collaboration as a mode of survival is critical. And I think that art is always imitating life and showing that. So hearing all of you talk about collaboration in different ways is really powerful. So I wanted to get into actually some of the art pieces and just touch a little bit on some of the work that you all have presented. So Clara, I'm going to start with you. Your project, Technological Glitch, was actually used as one of our key images that we used for our promotion of the event. So I'm going to just share my screen with everybody so that we can have an opportunity to take a look at the work. And let's put here, talk about technology and and utilizing technology for a presentation. I'm over here playing both roles as both the moderator and also the person who is sharing all the work. So let's get into this. So this piece, these three pieces here, I'm going to have you just kind of walk us through it, Clara. Can everybody see that okay? Can you guys see that okay on your end?
Yeah.
I'm going to make full screen. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that okay. So yeah, so there we have it. Oops, sorry, let's go back. Sorry, technology. Okay, there we go. So we have these three beautiful pieces, which clearly play on technology. I see so many elements here when I'm looking at them. I see, you know, CD discs. For those of us who remember using CDs, they're sort of becoming obsolete in this moment. But then you also see what looks like the boards that you'll see, the microchips. So, and of course, human faces. So Clara, can you just speak a little bit about these three pieces and what informed them and what was the concept behind them?
Yeah, you know, like I said, be it in the past, present, or future, art and technology are intertwined, you know. And there is a quote I wanted to share. Jane Roster, Jane Roster, she said, science, you know, makes us to be gods, even when we are not worthy of being called men. So in a way, when I saw the theme of the you know, art festival, you know, as in power, perception, and access, the first thing that came to my mind, you know, while I was creating this series is power. Too much power is very destructible. As in, when you have power, there is this feeling, you know, when you are holding on to a power, there is this feeling you have, you know, as a human being. But the moment that power overshadows you, if care is not taken, you can misuse that power. You can misuse it. That was why I said, you know, the use of technology is a wonderful advantage, you know, even for us as an artist to tap into it. But while doing it, we should not allow it to go into our heads, as in, we should not allow it to overshadow us. We should not, in terms of control, because if you get to a state that when the power overshadows you, you might not be able to control it. You know, that has been, let's say, one of my fears, you know, in times of all the advanced technology that has been flying all around. So the inspiration to create this series, you know, comes from the idea that too much power, once you are intoxicated with too much power, if care is not taken, you can misuse that power. So if you look at the three figures, the CD, I planted the CD on the head of two of the women, and then the guy at the center, you know, was holding the CD in his palm, and then there is a sheep attached to the head. Everything still zero down to the head. It's all in my head. Everything still evolves around the head. So in a way, there's a Yoruba proverb in my language that says, the meaning of that proverb is, you know, when somebody has power, and you now want to take that power from that person, the person will tell you that no way, there's no way you can collect this power from me. I am the one that owns this power, and this power belongs to me, and I'm going to hold on to it. The fact that they want to take the power from you is not that they did not think you are not fit to hold such power, or you don't know how to utilize that power. But in a way, they just feel that no, you need to release the power. It can be maybe the level of the level that the power is consuming that person. is getting too much, or maybe the person is misusing that power. They now feel that they need to collect that power from that person, so that at the end of the day, maybe by the time the person is more calmer, you know, it can now come back to his normal sense. Because at times, too much power, it has you know, psychological effect, which can also contribute to mental health illness. It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
So that was how the inspiration to create the 3 works, you know, come to my head. That too much power, the moment it gets to your head, if you are not careful, you will lose it. And I used to say, you know, that in every human personality, there is a good and evil. It's now up to you to know which side you want to belong to. But at times, when you have so much power, when you yield so much power, you might not be able to control which side you want to belong to. Eventually, you will end up going to the darker side because the power have overshadowed you and there's nothing you can do about it. Even if you want to be a good person, if you want to go to that good side, the power that overshadow you will be going down to the darker side. So too much power, we should not allow it to get into our heads, and we should make good use of the advanced technology. Where if we make good use of it very effectively, like I said, you know, the future is brighter for us. If we're able to, you know, make good use of this advanced technology very well, you know, we're able to have, you know, a better, what's it called? A better, maybe better human existence. I can say, because we just need to be hopeful and assume that, you know, our society will not be affected, you know, by the growth of the advanced technology.
Very, very well said. And you're touching on something. I want to pin that conversation and switch it over to both Kween and Layqa in this, because this was something that I wanted to bring up specifically regarding their work. You know, obviously you're in Nigeria, and here in the United States, we are dealing with, on top of a pandemic, we're dealing with the pandemic of the last 400 plus years in the United States, which is rooted in white supremacy and racism, and all of the disease that has come out of that very, very toxic experience of having all of that power, you know, lead to this dark side that you just so beautifully and eloquently described. So because both Kween and Layqa's work, so much of your work is centered around this intersectionality of not just gender, but also race and issues around social justice, I would like for both of you to talk a little bit about how, in this particular moment, that we are in such a critical time in the United States, where finally it feels as though we're starting to bring so much to light that has been accepted as just being okay. It's for hundreds of years, a lot of these practices have not been called into question on a massive scale, but since the death of George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, you know, this has been brought to a global stage where America is now on Front Street, and everybody's saying, what is going on in America with racial inequality, with racial justice, with racism, with, you know, the white supremacy and all the different toxic traits that come out of that. How do you, both of you, use your work to engage your audiences in some of these topics, and to not just engage, but also, you're both teaching artists. So how do you also use this work, your work, I should say, to educate people on ways not only that they can understand the historical implications of all of this, but how they can empower their own selves to help to be a part of the solution instead of a part of the problem? Kween, you want to go first? Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
I think that it involves honesty. I think most people that are abusive to power lack honesty. and they don't know what power really is. Like Clara was alluding to, like if you get too much of it, that's too much of anything other than love. I think it's destructive. It does tear you down. It does tear down the process of who you could become. It gets in the way. In terms of politics and social injustice, obviously we can see the big red flag about how power is misused and destructive and how it tears people apart. It tears families and communities apart. It tears culture apart. When we, as I know for me as an artist, I don't focus on power. Like it comes, power for me comes at night when I'm sleeping. Power is reprocessed and regenerated through my work. Like I feed off of power in a very different way. Like I have to sit up at 2 in.the morning to find my power to create this work. It's a very different power for creatives. For me, probably for people that are on this panel, it's processed very differently. There's no abuse that comes with it. There's no exploitation. And when we take power off the shelf and we really try to like force it on the people, is this big misconstruence. There isn't a gathering that happens. There's no information that's learned. There's no lesson that's being impacted on the people. It's a negative connotation that comes with power. When I think of power, I think of generating. I think of resourceful. I think of source, like starting from the basics in the beginning. Yeah, I think like for me, power and ego, those are not in my catalog of words. And when I teach my students, I ask them questions. I think power kind of relinquishes people from their purpose. Like I go back to my students and I say, well, how can you, they'll say, Ms. Moore, how does this look? And I'm not going to take the power from my student. I say, how do you think it looks? I shift it back on them, because if it was all about me, oh, Ms. Moore doesn't like that. Ms. Moore doesn't like what I created. That's not what I want from my students and young folks. I teach kindergarten through 4th grade art, and they always look to you to give them the answer. And I'm like, no, what do you think? Taking people and stripping people of their power is taking their right to think away. It's taking their right to feel away. And if we keep pulling from people in their existence and their essence, we're always going to think in a power type of way, like a power struggle and not a surge of proper energy. So that's my idea about power.
Love it. And, you know, I have to say, just from personally knowing you and being in so many spaces with you, you truly do empower other people. You're always the first one to big up another artist, to invite them to the stage, to really, you know, share that power, right? You might have the mic, but you're always willing to share that mic with everybody else is there, because I think, you know, as you just said, you understand what the power is in us all collectively connecting. So thank you for that. Layqa.
Can I just add to that?
Sure, of course.
Like, in having the mic, like I still need to plug in somewhere. I still need a source of energy to make that mic amplify. So the mic is nothing without an amplified instrument. So that's power ain't nothing without the people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I also feel you. I don't know how I ended up being like a teacher. I think life just brought me to this. I remember not knowing how to feel about it, but kind of knowing that this was my place. Because when I approached teaching, kind of like the way you do, Kween, it's not about putting people down or like pretending like you know everything. Like I don't know anything. I'm brought to art in order to discover, to like find out. I use art to ask questions. So if I can share that with someone, with a young person, and if they can use the same method, then we're both winning. Like I think art helps us ask the questions. And what's good is that we can all come up with different answers. And you know, my answer is gonna be representative of my whole life and my history, but yours is gonna be your own. And that's beautiful. And we find power within those answers. Yeah, I think that's how I ended up in education. Yeah, just basically. What's the first part of your question?
Yeah, so I wanted to, because I really want you, I love that you expounded on what Kween was saying, but I would really like you to just speak to, you know, and I love how you framed it, Kween, social injustice. On the topic of social injustice, how does that inform your work?
I think For me, it's just not, there's not really another way of making work. I've never had the privilege of not being who I am. And it just sort of becomes me walking out into the street as a political act. So why not take it all the way and make it political as hell? But just existing and by being ourselves, right? And a lot of the times I felt like coming to the US, migrating and having to assimilate to a world meant cutting my parts of myself off. And it took me a long time and a lot of education and miseducation and unlearning to sort of see myself and appreciate myself. And that's a powerful act again. And then once you can see and understand your history, then I don't see how you could not speak to power or like against oppression or for freedom and for Afro-Latinidad and for indigenous rights and for everything that we're fighting against, because it's not like being woke, it's just like seeing history. So when get to that point, then it kind of becomes easy, because it's not like I'm doing work as a service to myself and to others. I'm using it to ask questions, to like search for answers, but I'm also using my work, yeah, how can I explain service? Like, for example, I work with communities to make these murals, or I work with non-for-profit organizations to make posters or to get messages out, because amplification is something that artists can do, right? Like when I do teaching, I explain that all I have is experience, that we all have talent and the messages to get across. And as a muralist, I can amplify those into a larger scale. So yeah, it's I cannot separate social justice fight from art making at all, because for me, art making is life, and life is about striving for freedom.
Beautifully said, beautifully said. So I want to get a little bit into your exhibit, Layqa, because, you know, this is all made possible by power, right? And power in the literal sense of technology and the way in which an artist can interact with technology. Really, your exhibit is very forward thinking. It's unique, it's visually stunning, it's absolutely beautiful. So I want to share just a little clip from a portion of your virtual reality experience, which is so beautiful. So it's Across La Tierra. Do you want to set it up a little bit for us?
So for those not familiar, virtual reality headset is a project that I've been working on with a team of amazing artists. We are doing demos of this in my studio at 800 Broad Street. If you go to acrosslatierra.com, you can sign up for a demo. What you're going to see right now is video from the actual virtual reality experience, which is 360 degrees. And you'll see some of what we created.
Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit of this experience Across La Tierra. Okay.
Con eso trabajaba yo. Si era un muerto, de muerto, dijo. Sí, se había muerto y le decía. This is my father telling us he used to drive the dead person's driver's license.
I think that's a good place to pause and have everybody go and check out the virtual exhibit. That is so, I mean, I just got emotional just watching that, and that's not the first time that I've seen it. What an incredible way to translate experience. How did you do that?
It's been a long time. It's been a project I've been working on for like maybe a year and a few months. I started with a grant, which allowed me to sort of try something that I've never done before, but something that I think was always in the back of my head. Like I'm part of a generation that grew up playing Nintendo and interacting. And, you know, we have our phones and we're like thinking about this all the time. So it was an interesting way to like expand upon what I'm doing. I did it with a team of immigrant artists and engineers. One of them is here with me, Gibran. We're doing the demos together. But basically it was a beautiful way of collaborating and creating these spaces where we could tell our stories. You know, like part of that video shows you the Andes of Ecuador over an interview that I did with my father, in which he just talks about his life. And I found out things that I've never known, and I wanted to like capture those moments. And then the project started with me trying to deal with my history as an immigrant, but it grew into becoming an archive for all of these different narratives and experiences. So parts of it are, you know, interviews with Gibran, his experiences. It is a demo, so it's not totally finished. So you can get glimpses of this. My whole aim for this project would be for it to grow and become this archive for a larger sort of conversation of what it means to dream as an immigrant, what it means to give power to our dreams and our narratives, because we don't see those out there. I think there's one developer in Mexico and another one in Brazil that I love that is making interactive video games, commercial ones, right? And I think by now we all know how important that is, like for our kids to like see themselves represented in media, and for us to see mirrors of our faulty selves out there. So this was just me trying to deal with all of that. And I'm super happy to be able to share it with all y'all.
Beautiful. Another great segue. I mean, yeah, the immigrant experience, unless you are an Indigenous American, we are all immigrants in this country, whether you came here by choice or by force. The truth is that we're all making this our home, and it's fascinating to see on a national level the way this conversation polarizes so many people, when indeed we actually all have the same experience of having come here to make a life here, or been forced here and forced to make a life here. So when I hear these stories of immigration, to me, it's so beautiful. It has so much strength and perseverance and hardship and beauty and challenge. I mean, it's just so many things wrapped up in one. So I really hope that there is a larger audience and a platform really for people to see experiences from that point of view, because just watching that, it just, I think, helps to humanize the story and helps to for people to understand that we actually all have a lot more in common than we fail to realize. But so thank you for that. And this is a perfect segue into the next pieces that I would love to show, which are Kween Moore's pieces. And actual literal sense of power, electricity, is extremely important. And these two photos that Kween has on display as part of her exhibit, Current, these photos here were taken in Haiti, and in a time where there was a power outage. And, you know, I would like for you to speak about that, Kween, because, you know, the concept of who has the power, and I mean from the perspective of just electricity, says a lot. And also, yeah, and also children and people seeing themselves, you know, Layqa, you brought that up, people seeing themselves through the art, giving people that, here are these 2-3 young children who you photographed them. So can you talk a little bit about that experience of being in Haiti without power, photographing these children, and then showing them their, you know, reflecting them back to the, you know, showing them themselves, and what that was like for you?
So, Mercy, these are some of my my compelling pieces. Like these pieces, like really speak to my spirit. And every year I go to Haiti to teach an international arts course, and it was just so beautiful. I happened to be pregnant at this time, and it was very hot, like very hot outside in the middle of August. And shout out to NJ for Haiti, New Jersey for Haiti, and the whole team, and Elizabeth. This is their organization. And I was one of the sponsors here. So I went, and this is the first year they offered art therapy for the children of the recipients of medical supplies that they distribute. This is their 10th year. Last year was their 10th year. They go every year since the earthquake, and they distribute medical supplies to the villages that they tend to. So the one here, we were in Cité Soleil, which happens to be, as some describe, one of the most dangerous cities and states in the Western Hemisphere. But I don't think that stopped us from going. And when we got there, like I said, I was 2.5 months pregnant. And getting there, on the way in, we weren't allowed, shout out to Paul Chinnery photo, we weren't allowed to film anything, take pictures upon going in. We were very respectful of the grounds and the neighborhood that we were riding into. So, and we were very mindful of the content that we photographed. So we were very careful that we didn't exploit the people. All of my work has it where I don't want to exploit the people, because I wouldn't want that if I was being photographed. It's very important that as an artist, you're able to gauge what's appropriate and what's not culturally. So with these young girls, I wanted to capture the essence of who they were. And when they looked at me, I was like, oh my God, their eyes were like undoubtedly like perfect and beautiful. And this was after they took my art class, and I donated all the art materials that all my friends and sponsors had donated here from the city of Newark, New Jersey. Shout out to all my friends and partners. Newark Arts donated to us in this initiative to give back. And when they received the art materials, this was the look I caught. These were the faces and the expressions, and they were so thankful, and they wanted the paint brushes, and they wanted the paint, and they wanted all the art materials. And like, I just left it all there, and I gained so much love. And when I looked back, once I got back to America and I was editing the photos and like changing the lighting, which I really didn't have to do much, I saw myself in their eyes. Literally, I could see me and my camera in their actual eyes. And I said, oh my God, like the reflection, the energy that they give off, they weren't smiling. And people were like, why do they look so mad? And I'm like, well, who feels like smiling all the time? Let people be themselves. And my work, I always wanted to capture that. If you don't want to smile, you don't have to smile. And photographing these twin baby girls on the other side, there were videos when they were like, this goes to you, Trump. Shout out to all Black people. And it was just so powerful, the energy that we had with them. And they were like, we are beautiful Black girls. And I was saying it for them in English, and they would say it in Creole. And it was just, man, it was an experience. You had to be there. And this is why this was called Electric Eyes of Truth, because it wasn't that they didn't have power. Power was respected in Haiti. Just like you operate off of generators. And if you don't charge your phone in the morning, they don't waste energy. There's a very big difference in power in other countries and how they respect it. If you don't get to the power source first, that's it. Once the generators go off, it's too bad. That's it. So you're taught, as an American going into another country, you're taught initial respect. Don't burn these lights. Turn that switch off. You know, respect that this switch can go off at any time, and that you don't have that power. And that's what I respected, and I understood. It was like going into your grandmother's house and knowing that when she said, don't flick that light, don't flick it on and off. So that was the purpose of this work. And I'm forever grateful of these beautiful babies. So yeah.
Indeed. This is, I mean, when I looked at these images, they were just so compelling, and, you know, knowing the story from you, because I followed your journey throughout Haiti, and I can see, if you look at these up close, you can see your reflection in that. There's layers of information in these photos, all of which is incredible in telling this story of power, what does power mean? Who has the power in the literal and figurative sense? I just want to touch on one last thing before we close. You talked about power in the sense of when you go to another country, power is a privilege, whether it's personal power or electrical power, it truly is a privilege. And I think a lot of American people really don't understand that. Just like water, having access to water is a privilege. There are places like where my family is from in Cape Verde where it doesn't rain sometimes for 6 months. Water is a precious resource. You can't just go to your faucet and turn on and the water comes out. So for me, visiting there, that was like a huge wake-up call to understand the extreme amount of privilege that we have in the United States that people really take for granted. So I just want to turn it over to Clara, who is not in the United States, and just talk to you a little. If you could just expand on that from your perspective, living outside of the United States, sort of, you know, these ideas around power and access to these types of resources.
Yeah, thank you so much. When it comes to access to social infrastructure in Nigeria, in a way, I would say, let's say 50%, let's say 50% of average people in my country have access to water, access to electricity, and access to a very good housing, which is, these three things are very essential, you know, for human survival. And when you, as a person, you don't have access to these things, is in a way, it's like, you know, when you now get to a place and you see the way they have total percentage of access to those social infrastructure, you will feel as if, God, these people are taking for granted, you know, their access to electricity, their access to good drinking water. I know of some area for 3 months, they don't have access to electricity. They have to buy fuel their generator, and they are burning fuel almost every day to have access to electricity. So in a way, I believe, you know, when we have access to, you know, all these social infrastructure, it gives us, it makes life easier. You know, like I said, that you know, technology is, you know, help people to perform some things that we cannot do by ourselves. So in a way, electricity is a way to, you know, instead of you honing your candlelight, you know, you have electricity, and it makes it much more easier for you. That's the power of technology. Instead of you, you know, washing your clothes in a washing basin, you have your washing machine, and it goes a long way to relieve you of the stress. So in a way, I think having access to water, to electricity is very, very vital for human existence. And we should not, if you as a person, or maybe in a community, you have access to things like this, you know, don't take it for granted. You know, there are other people out there that are even struggling to have access to such social amenities. So to me, that is just my take on that.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I want to thank the three of you for joining us today. This has been a very powerful conversation. And, you know, we've learned a lot about the intersection of art and technology, and really just how privileged we are to be able to have the power to create, the power to present this festival, you know, the power to gather. We're learning so much about humanity in this moment, and art, as always, is a real reflection of the social environment of the times, of the politics, of the environment by which we live in. So I encourage everybody to please go to newarkartsfestival.com and check out the work of Clara Aden with Technological Glitch, Kween Moore and Current, and Layqa Nuna Yawar with Across La Tierra. So thank you all for joining us. My name again is Marcy DePina. It's been truly a pleasure to be with you this afternoon, and I wish you a fabulous day. Don't forget to get all your ingredients for the 1666 official Newark Arts Festival cocktail. And we also have a mocktail for those of you who do not partake. You can get all of those ingredients at Cool Vines. Thank you to all of our sponsors and all the staff at Newark Arts for making this possible. Thank you guys. Until the next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.